Things are heating up between Blake Lively and Justine Baldony as today he filed a $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And from the looks of it, Baldony came with receipts. Now, full transparency, I haven't read it yet. It's 179 pages long, but I will read it and I will be reporting back just like I did with the first two lawsuits. But here is an overview from what I'm seeing so far. And before I get into it, be sure to find me other places in case this goes away, because I will continue sharing all of this everywhere else. Okay, so this lawsuit is filed by Justine Baldony, Jamie Heath, Wayfarer Studios, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, and It Ends With Us Movie LLC. It is filed against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Leslie Sloan, Blake's PR manager. This lawsuit reiterates many of the points in Justine Baldony's lawsuit against the New York Times, arguing that the full record shows that Blake Lively's lawsuit offered a, quote, skewed version of events. And I found this interesting. The lawsuit also makes reference to the ongoing fires in Los Angeles, alleging that Blake Lively arranged to serve all of the LA-based defendants in her case while they were monitoring evacuation orders and packing go bags in case they had to flee their homes. Now, this might just be a coincidence of timing, but that is mentioned in this lawsuit. The lawsuit begins, "The following is not a story plaintiffs ever wished to tell. Unfortunately, defendant Blake Lively has unequivocally left them with no choice, not only to set the record straight in response to Lively's accusations, but also to put the spotlight on the parts of Hollywood that they have dedicated their careers to being the antithesis of. That task was always going to be an uphill battle. They never imagined they would encounter it to this degree." It goes on to say, had Lively chosen to merely ride out the self-inflicted press catastrophe she faced in August 2024, the public would likely have moved on and never known the truth about her. They would have never known that she deliberately and systematically robbed plaintiffs Justine Baldony and Wayfarer Studios of their movie. No one except the parties involved would have known that she used threats and extortion to relegate the colleagues she once highly praised to a basement to sit out their own premiere while she enjoyed the spotlight of a premiere and after party that was ultimately co-financed by both Wayfarer and Sony. They said she would have gotten away with these things and more because Baldony, focused entirely on seeing the film succeed, would have held his tongue, as he had through the year and a half that Lively tormented him, his family, and his partners. But Lively could not tolerate her publicly tainted image for even a moment, and further could not accept that it was entirely of her own making. She needed a scapegoat. And rather than admit and take accountability for her own mishaps, she chose to blame plaintiffs in a malicious and unforgivably public manner. When she and Reynolds could not face Baldony and Wayfarer to read a statement she and her representatives prepared, extorting them to take accountability in defense of Lively's actions, she lay in wait for months, preparing to publicly attack Baldony by falsely claiming that he had SH'd her. They say Lively stole Wayfarer's movie, hijacked Wayfarer's premiere, destroyed plaintiffs' personal and professional reputations and livelihood, and aimed to drive plaintiffs out of business entirely. And they mentioned the New York Times again, talking about how they prepared that article. So you can pause to read if you want to read about that part. And then they said, plaintiffs now have no choice but to fight back, and only with the truth and the mountain of concrete evidence disproving Lively's allegations. Heartbreakingly, a film that Baldony envisioned years ago would honor the survivors of DV by telling their story, with the lofty goal of making a positive impact in the world, has now been overshadowed beyond recognition solely as a result of Lively's actions and cruelty. They say Lively wields immense power as one of the world's best-known celebrities, and they say that in 2024 she used that power to seize control of It Ends With Us. They say she set out to destroy plaintiffs' livelihood and businesses if they did not bend to her incessant demands, and when they refused to give way, she did exactly that, accusing them of foul and reprehensible misconduct. And they say they were blindsided by Blake Lively with her refusal to return to production if they didn't agree to all of her demands, which insinuated misconduct had occurred during filming. And they say that her exclusion of Justine Baldony from the promotion of the film backfired, saying as she chose to callously promote her hair care and alcoholic beverage products rather than bring attention to survivors of DV, the entire premise of the film. And that is what led to a lot of backlash against Blake Lively. And they said when Lively faced significant public backlash from what was often referred to as her tone-deaf and insensitive press tour of the film, she doubled down on her false and misleading accusations against Baldony. She seemed determined to make make Baldony the real-life villain in her story, and her publicist, Leslie Sloan, went so far as to propagate malicious stories portraying Justine Baldony as a predator. And they said, apparently driven by overwhelming ambition and a need for control, Lively eventually leveraged her power as a wealthy celebrity to wrest the reins from her co-star and the film's director, Justine Baldony, insisting on total control over every aspect of the film she could get her hands on. Okay, and there's a lot more to it. I will dive deeper into that, but it looks like Justine Baldony et al. Came with receipts. One of the very first things we see that's not just wording in the lawsuit is an email from Justine Baldony to Colleen Hoover, in which he talks about wanting to turn her book into a film. You can pause to read the whole thing. And he said, I am building and got funding for a company whose mission is to tell high-end, meaningful stories. And he talks about what he's already done and why he wants to turn It Ends With Us into a movie. And then they show Colleen Hoover's response, in which she said, would love to talk to you more about the project. You get the book, and that's the most important thing to me. My big fear is that I'll option it to someone who thinks it's a hot romance, and they'll take it in the absolute wrong direction. She talked about bad experience she's had selling her books to film options, and she said that It Ends With Us is important to me. I would love more involvement on this film. Said she's already been working on a script for it. So again, they are showing the full emails, not redacting anything unless it absolutely has to be redacted. And this goes on showing the full texts as promised by Justine Baldony's lawyer, Brian Friedman. In this text between Justine Baldony and Blake Lively, she says, it's such a good feeling to get work done that we're proud of and to do it together. It just clicks when we find it, and that's just as rewarding as filming it or editing it or marketing it or releasing it. This is all storytelling. This is why we do it. She says, thank you for your collaboration. I'm really proud of what we're doing. In this one, she says, we're all on the same team. Justine Baldony says, you really are a talent across the board, really excited and grateful to do this together. And then Blake Lively said, that's very appreciated and means a lot. I'm deeply inspired by the film we're going to make outside of the success of this book. We have such an opportunity to not only surprise people who love the book, but reach an even bigger audience by making an undeniably dynamic and also commercial film. Again, she says, we're in this together, and we are two of the most determined people I know. We also have very high bars set for ourselves. She says, to collaborate with that type of partner is a gift, and neither of us will squander, because we both care too much about the result and also the experience. And then she says, I have no motives except for you to win. As a director, as an actor, as a studio, as a writer. If you win, I win. If you win, our movie wins. We are aligned, and I will bring everything I have to this. Which doesn't seem to align with the actions outlined in the previous lawsuit and further in this lawsuit. So lots of receipts seem to be in this lawsuit. Like I said, I'm going to read the entire 179 pages and do a full recap video. But it seems like they really came with the full messages, the full receipts, and it will be interesting to see if it supports everything that they have said so far and how Blake Lively will react. So stay tuned.
I just saw that Justine Baldony sued Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds I don't know where he comes in, but for $400 million. And I thought to myself, like, when TikTok's no longer here, I'm not going to have a 10-minute lawyer breakdown from somebody saying, like, I read the 400-page lawsuit and here's what you need to know about it. Because where am I going to find that now? Like, that's going to be nowhere to be seen or found or heard. So I think I'm just going to care less about all this shit now. Like, I got involved. I, like, started to care about it because I just, like, started seeing it all on my free page. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, that's kind of damning. Like, oh, fuck. Like, oh. And I would just see all these different people like, oh, whoa, whoa. Like, you know? And now I don't think I'm going to care anymore. I don't think I care at all to begin with, by the way. Like, I'm sorry to both of them. I wish them both well. Or if they don't deserve, I don't know. Like, I don't actually care. But, like, I cared because of you guys, the people on here that were so excited about it. Not excited, that's not the right word. But, like, curious about it and breaking it down. And now, I don't know. I wish them both the best. I love Deadpool. I'm sorry. I'm going to watch everything Ryan Reynolds does. Like, can't take him from me, but also, like, I didn't know who Justine Baldony was before all of this. And I think it's going to go back to that. It ends with when TikTok ends, honestly.
Justine Baldony's priority is to litigate all of this in the court of public opinion. Okay? These lawsuits, they're just a vehicle to get us there. I certainly don't think he expects to get the money he's asking for in either lawsuit. If what he's alleging is true, I think Blake and Ryan severely overplayed their hand. They just could not take the damage that was done to Blake's ego despite the film's commercial success. And they thought they could use this complaint to win back public favor. And it worked for like 5 seconds. I think they specifically went out of their way to paint him as a predator and a danger to women because of his public persona about being very outspoken about women's issues, especially during the press tour for the film, which is something she was very much criticized for not doing. I think that Blake and Ryan thought that what was in those subpoenaed texts between Justin and his PR people and his crisis people was so damning, so horrific, that he would never be able to recover. Even if he did respond with his own receipts, the noise would be too loud, the damage would be done. Because no one can recover from speaking about the Blake Lively that way. Never in their wildest imaginations did either of those people, did they think that there was any circumstance or any receipt that Justin could provide that would make the public go, oh, I get it. That people would be saying, you took your time, Justin, calling that crisis PR. I would have called them sooner. Anywho, if what he's alleging is true and what I have said is correct, they need to fire their whole team, especially your lawyers, because if they were aware of this paper trail and still deluded you into thinking that the public wouldn't sniff this out, and that would allow you to take the risk of putting false sexual harassment allegations out there, knowing that your main concern is your public reputation, I think Baldony is angry, and rightfully so, and I think he wants retribution, and the money is just icing, and I'm sure he will get some. Honestly, probably from Blake and Ryan, just to make this stop.
You guys, it's happening again. Justine Baldony sues Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million alleging defamation. This was filed this morning, Thursday, January 16th, and it claims that Lively took measures to gain control of the hit movie. He's suing on claims of civil extortion, defamation, false light invasion of privacy, breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, intentional interference with contractual relationships,
I know I said I was going to mind my black business, but I'm reading this lawsuit, and the way that it opens up is, listen to this. The following is not a story plaintiffs ever wished to tell. Unfortunately, defendant Blake Lively has unequivocally left them with no choice, not only to set the record straight in response to Lively's accusations, but also to put the spotlight on the parts of Hollywood that they have dedicated their careers to being the antithesis of. That task was always going to be an uphill battle. They never imagined that they would encounter it to this degree. This sounds like the start of a story, like a movie. They continue, had Lively chosen to merely ride out the self-inflicted press catastrophe she faced in August 2024, the public would likely have moved on and never known the truth about her. They would have never known that she deliberately and systematically robbed plaintiffs of their movie. No one except the parties involved would have known that she used threats and extortion to relegate the colleagues she once highly praised to a basement to sit out their own premiere, while she enjoyed the spotlight of a premiere and after party that was ultimately co-financed by both Wayfair and Sony. She would have gotten away with these things and more because Baldony, focused entirely on seeing the film succeed, would have held his tongue, as he had through the year and a half that Lively tormented him, his family, and his partners. Folks, I'm 2 paragraphs in. I was going to mind my business, but I cannot. I cannot.
Part 4, Justine Baldony's receipts proving that working with Blake Lively is hell. We left off at Blake Lively's attorney sending them the list of demands from Blake. Both Sony and Wayfair even tried to revise the document because there were inaccuracies included. However, Blake Lively's counsel's response made it clear that they were not open to negotiations. Blake's counsel literally responded saying the list provided was not intended as a starting point for a negotiation. Rather, it is a set of protections that needs to be in place in order for our client to return to work. The lawsuit states that it's clear that Wayfair would have to sign the document as is, despite the falsity of its insinuations. The alternative was to lose millions of dollars, cost hundreds of people their jobs after they had been out of work for months, and destroy the relationship with Sony. One of those demands was that an intimacy coordinator be present anytime Blake Lively was on set. And Wayfair had no problem with this because they already had an intimacy coordinator. March of 2023, 2 months before filming had even began, that's when Baldony had met with an intimacy coordinator. In April of 2023, the intimacy coordinator was signed on, and Blake Lively was well aware of this. Blake's attorney was also made aware of the intimacy coordinator on set. It's documented below. May 8th, 2023, there were emails between her and Wayfair's attorney, within which Wayfair provides her the intimacy coordinator approved nudity rider. Lively's insistence in her November 9th 29, 2023 return to production demands, the constant presence of an intimacy coordinator was baffling. And contrary to Lively's knowingly false claims, it was Lively who refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator to plan out their scenes. Here's Justin's message to Blake saying, "Just hired an intimacy coordinator who I love, will set you up to meet, FaceTime with her next week for intro." But then Blake responded saying, "I feel good, I can meet her when we start, thank you though." And Justin had even sent this to a female producer, giving her an FYI. So as a result, most of the intimate scenes were not written with simultaneous collaboration and input from both Lively and the intimacy coordinator. In the end, Lively rejected all of the intimacy coordinator's proposals to rewrite the scenes herself. And then Blake turns around, uses these circumstances created entirely by her to accuse Baldony of insisting Lively do uncomfortable scenes. Scenes that were, in fact, proposed by the intimacy coordinator and by all accounts, very typical. And according to the lawsuit, before returning to production, Lively had even more script notes and changes beyond what she had already performed during phase 1, and facing these terrifying yet false accusations made by Blake Lively and the threat that Lively would not return to work, Baldony realized his film would be taken from him by threats and coercion. He sent this out December 27th of 2023. He sent them the revised script with all of Blake's changes. Everyone knows how I feel about this and how angry I am that Blake has taken over our film and rewrote a movie we spent years developing, writing, and funding. So yes, I am furious, I am sad, but I will continue to get back up with the goal of getting us to the finish line. I've come to terms that the only way out is through waving the white flag and submitting. I am going to give her 96% of what she wants. Lively's demands just caused additional work for the team and for Justin. January 1st of 2024, Justin had sent this to the production team, saying, "Hey buddy, unfortunately it looks like we're not going to be able to send anything until Thursday night or so. I'm not quite sure how to handle, but I'm doing these small rewrites and sending them back to producers, and then they will send it to Blake, and then it will be a negotiation of what the script will look like." Lively had also requested through producer Todd Black to join Baldony in the editing bay. As a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in film and television, Lively knew full well the implications of her request. Aftermath of the serious and false allegations that she had leveled against Baldony, and with pressure from Sony, they reluctantly agreed to her request, granted her access to the editing bay for 2 days. February 2024, Justin had sent this message to Blake: "I agree we work really well together, and with all you've put into this film, I completely understand wanting to give notes and have input before you leave for your other movie. I started my con on Thursday, so tomorrow will be day 3. The movie is currently all over the place, and I need a few weeks to get it into some sort of shape to even present to you. What I would love to do is bring you in on the 18th and have us work together until you leave." Blake responded saying he'd love to be in the passenger seat with you as soon as possible. "I don't need you to formally present anything. I understand you've just seen the first assembly and have a mountain ahead of you. I'll be invaluable to you in recall alone as you put together what you're looking for. I've also been rewatching all of the dailies, tons of nuanced gems. Sooner we put our heads together, the better." And Justin responded saying, "I hear you, and I do know how helpful you have been. I need some time to get sorted with my editors and wrap my head around the film itself. I will reach out to you at the end of the week to let you know the progress I've made." And these messages from February and March of 2024 between Justin and the editors shows that he agreed to let Blake Lively in on the editing process. And later in March of 2024, Lively continued pushing for her demands, and what had been a 2-day collaboration was extended into 10. And Blake sought to work alone in the editing bay, not with Justin. Therefore, she would have full control. Even though Justin had incorporated 7 of her pages of notes into the edit, he consistently kept her involved in every edit, but she wanted full control. And in these receipts between the editors and Justin Baldony, one editor says, "Justin has bent over backwards for her for months on end. I don't think you should have to do that too. Either way, you should do what's best for you, not her." The fact that Justin Baldony stuck through this, working with Blake Lively seems like hell.
Justine Baldony has filed a complaint against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and Vision PR. I'm a California attorney, and I read the complaint, so you don't have to. You already know we're going to do a breakdown of the 179-page complaint, but let's start off with the causes of action. We have 7 different causes of action. First, we have civil extortion against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and Vision PR. Second, we have defamation against the same 4 parties. Fourth, we have false light invasion of privacy by Justine Baldony, Jamie Heath, Jennifer Abel, and Melissa Nathan against all 4 parties: Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and Vision PR. Fourth, we have breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing against Blake Lively. Fifth, we have intentional interference with contractual relations against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Sixth, we have intentional interference with prospective economic advantage against Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. And the seventh and last cause of action is negligent interference with prospective economic advantage against Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Make sure to come back for part 2, where we will break down the evidence in the complaint.
Perez Hilton here at your service. 179 pages. That's how long Justine Baldony's lawsuit against Taylor Swift's bestie and her husband Ryan Reynolds is, which he filed earlier today. I continue to make my way through it, and I think I can safely say now, officially, after hearing this latest bit of evidence that he has, she's cooked. I'll tell you all about it, but first, a rewind quickly. They starred in this movie, which most of you probably didn't even see. It Ends With Us. His production company produced it, he directed it as well, and then she took creative control. Through power, intimidation, threats, and he claims that she made up the sexual harassment allegations as a cover-up, and that he engaged in no smear campaign, but she's the one who did. Gaslighter, manipulator, liar. Baldony is suing the actress best known for Gossip Girl and her husband for a whole bunch of causes, including defamation, unfair business practices, and more. And as I told you earlier, he has evidence, footage, and audio of Blake Lively out of character, mocking his physical appearance, making fun of his nose and telling him that he should get plastic surgery. He's got receipts in the form of actual footage from the movie. And he's got even more receipts that reveal Blake Lively did not respect boundaries. Blake Lively was so unprofessional while filming. As I previously shared with you all, filming on It Ends With Us was interrupted due to the Hollywood strikes. Remember when the writers and the actors, everybody went on strike? Well, Blake Lively threatened to not return to set unless her demands and the very long list were met. One of her points was, quote, "No more improvising of kissing. All intimate touch must be choreographed in advance with Blake Lively and an intimacy coordinator. No biting or sucking of lip without Blake Lively's consent. All intimate on-camera touch and conversation must be in character, not spoken from Justine Baldony to Blake Lively personally." Well, I already told you that she did not do this. She broke character, mocking his physical appearance, and his lawsuit filed earlier today says, quote, "Moreover, it was Lively who engaged in unchoreographed kissing scenes. One scene, again captured on camera, exhibits Lively pulling Baldony in to kiss her. It is clear Lively was initiating unchoreographed kissing. In one take, she pulled Baldony in and kissed him once. In another, twice. And the number of kisses entirely initiated by Lively changed at her whim. And he is not suing her for harassment, au contraire. His lawsuit claims Baldony, as a professional actor who, among other roles, played the lead's love interest in television's Jane the Virgin for 5 years, 100 episodes, is, like most actors, accustomed to rehearsing or filming scenes multiple times, often with variations, without needing permission while in character. While Lively now takes issue with any innocuous improvisation Baldony, as Ryle, may have allegedly initiated while in character, Baldony treated their relationship on camera as professional, each playing their part, each doing their job. If no one was supposed to improvise, Baldony would have no way of knowing based on Lively's own actions. Lively demonstrated again and again that this was a normal and acceptable part of filming romantic scenes. And he's got the footage. Oh boy, boy, boy. I'm exhausted, but grateful. I'm so invested. Thoughts on this, just this video, these developments? Let me know in the comment section.